Friday, I screwed that out, and I was down. There were impaired classes, I went down one of the desks, and I was like, no. It's all weekend, so I like waited like 10 extra minutes, just in case he came back. And so today during the sixth period, we're like starting class, and I like hand them to him, and we're like singing our declension songs, and he like stuff that games, and like, as I like so the classes that it's like, you like put them on and just like that, like if I like my groups for a weekend. I mean, I have like
yeah. You can just leave them. Are you guys ready? All right, I'm gonna call to order. All righty, I'm going to call to order our study session. Let the record show all 5 trustees are in attendance today, Monday, November 17 at 6:35. Can I get an approval of just the study session agenda if there's no modifications?
so moved.
All right, moved by Catherine. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Move forward with the study session agenda as is. 6.3, I'll just notifying the audience that our session's being audio taped and streamed tonight. And before we get into our study session, we do have some public comment, folks that will speak. And this is for specifically the study session agenda. So first we have Kevin Hyken. Should I call the next one? And then just so we're ready and we keep moving, after Kevin, we'll have Nate Bowen.
Good evening, everybody. I don't have any prepared remarks tonight, but I just wanted to come and just, share my request that the board hold off on voting to update the official graduation requirements for social studies until folks can have time to put together like an actual cohesive and thoughtful plan to mitigate the damage recently done to the social studies departments through the changes that were made. It's difficult to understate how much essentially the last board decision represented taking a chainsaw to 20 social studies sections across our district. These 20 social studies sections have been part of our district fabric for decades. Even when we had a 5-credit option, that 5-credit semester option, that option was always at the sophomore year. And that was a significant variance because at the sophomore year as well, our students had the option of taking a full year AP social studies class, which generally was a very compelling option for them, meaning that kind of de facto, we've had students taking 40 social studies credits for a very long time now. And suddenly chainsawing those sections off of freshman year has caused, to be frank, chaos across the entire district with calls and concerns for reduction in force for the first time in 40 years. And completely honestly, it's really hard to see what we gain from that. As a history teacher, I came here several board meetings in a row, and I heard thoughtful community members time and time again advocate for powerful history instruction to combat anti-Semitism, to talk about the horrors of the 20th century, to talk about the Holocaust. I'm a Jewish American. I'm the Jewish Student Union advisor. My grandfather helped liberate Dachau. I have the flag in my classroom. And the decision last week did none of that. It did absolutely none of that. We just hacked off 20 sections from the department whose job it is to teach the horrors of anti-Semitism. It's our job. It's in our standards. We're the ones that are supposed to do that. And, we just lost those sections without any plan to replace them. If folks want to have a plan to float a compelling class that actually can pair with ethnic studies to give us some history instruction back, the instruction that our community has been demanding, the instruction that, to be honest, as a Jewish American, I think we really do need in our schools. Anti-Semitism is a real problem. It's been hugely inflamed lately in the last 2 to 3 years. But, we haven't done that. And I hope that the board can. I actually emailed all of you earlier this afternoon a proposal that I think does do that in a way that actually allows for the 35 credits that will actually represent a return to normalcy, where we can go back to a similar system to the system we had before with 35 credits that still allows for our staffing. And I hope you folks look at it. I hope you sincerely consider it. I hope you think about it. Because, the bottom line is the decision last week, put a lot of people at risk. There are 4 social studies teachers right now that don't have sections to teach. The decision was the equivalent of blowing up your house in a demolition with no plan to build a new one. So thank you very much.
Next, we have Nate Bowen, and then after Nate, we'll have Marcia Babiak.
All right. Good evening to the Board of Trustees and Superintendent Volta, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Nate Bowen, and I'm the Department Coordinator for Social Studies at Mountain View High School. 6 weeks ago, I addressed this body to outline several options for reimagining ethnic studies should the board choose to adopt a new model. I grounded that discussion in 3 shared values that every member of my department supports. First, a heterogeneous freshman year class experience, one in which all freshmen from all backgrounds learn together and build a shared understanding of MVLA's culture of respect, diversity, and high academic expectations. Second, a robust year of social studies instruction consistent with more than 20 years of district practice, providing students with essential skills in historical thinking, document analysis, understanding multiple perspectives, and communicating complex ideas. Third, an FTE neutral solution that preserves our district's most valuable resource, its teachers. I return tonight because given the current direction of this process, the fulfillment of all 3 values is now very much in doubt. This has generated significant uncertainty and concern within my department and among many MVLA educators. As a history teacher, I find it useful to consider our present moment alongside the past. 5 years ago, when we were tasked with creating an ethnic studies course, the process was deliberate and collaborative. We worked closely with community focus groups, site administration, district leadership, and this board. And I recall having many thoughtful discussions with several of you in those board meetings and study sessions. It was thoughtful, transparent, and ultimately successful in producing a strong course that has benefited our students. This time, the process has felt rushed and has not fully considered the broader ramifications of the decisions being made. As a result, we now face a situation none of us wants to see: the prospect of the first reduction in force in more than 40 years. I respectfully ask that as the board moves forward, it return to the 3 values I outlined and incorporate them into a clear plan for maintaining MVLA's strong social studies curriculum. This could include, but is by no means limited to, ideas such as maintaining the 40 credit graduation requirement and offering a freshman year elective alongside the new 5 credit ethnic studies, or implementing a new 35 credit model in which world studies is paired with ethnic studies and completed in the sophomore year. This latter option also opens a semester for in-seat health instruction in that year. The time for clear, decisive leadership is now. The Social Studies Department stands ready to collaborate and help craft solutions that best serve our students. They deserve nothing less. Thank you and good night.
Next, we have Marcia. After Marcia, we'll have Marcia, sorry. Ishana? Ishana, did I say that correctly? Walkley?
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. Good evening, board. My name is Marcia Babiak. I'm not a health teacher. I'm not a social studies teacher. I'm not an ethnic studies teacher. I've been teaching in the math department for 27 years. And Trustee Katz, I actually taught your daughter last year. My intention in speaking this evening is to bring to light what is actually happening to teachers behind the scenes and how it affects students. Although it is not your intent, the recent decision to change ethnic studies from a year-long course to only a semester has created an unjust level of anxiety. Teachers are being told, we're not going to RIF, but the RIF process has started. Be patient, but show up to board meetings. Get another credential, it will help save your job. There's not enough money to cover the loss of ethnic studies sections, yet there's millions of dollars in reserves. Just teach health. One very important aspect of being a teacher is to provide a safe environment for students, not just physically, but emotionally as well. They confide in us for a myriad of situations, problems at home, arguments with friends. Just last Monday, a student showed up in tears over the loss of her pet. So I stopped what I was doing and just listened. That level of support is difficult to maintain when you're experiencing emotional stress of your own. This roller coaster of emotions is untenable. It is unreasonable to expect that teachers provide the high quality of instruction students deserve and our district prides itself on, yet face the fear of losing their job, getting another credential, switching departments, etc. As the board considers how to implement the new ethnic studies graduation requirement, I implore you to consider the impact this decision has on teachers, because that will spill over into the effect it has on students. Teachers teaching to their area of strength and passion makes for an engaging and positive classroom environment. Thank you.
After Shauna, we'll have Marta Heiken.
Members of the board, thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Ishana Waklu, and I'm a senior at Mountain View High School. I know that ethnic studies has recently been reduced to a semester-long course, which makes my request somewhat more challenging, but still quite doable. Without throwing a wrench into your current planning, I'd like to advocate for adding just a bit of environmental justice to the ethnic studies curriculum at Mountain View High School, and I'll explain why. MVHS does address climate change and some social justice separately in existing classes, but the intersection between environment and social justice is not very well explored. However, environmental justice is very relevant today. Just a few miles away, we have two cities, East Palo Alto and Palo Alto, that are separated by only a freeway. But East Palo Alto has more air pollution, less green space, fewer grocery stores, and more toxic waste. And this translates to higher rates of asthma, obesity, and diabetes. If our district wants to prepare students to be engaged and informed participants against injustice, it is important for them to learn why these inequities exist and who is affected by them. Especially now, with the loss of federal funding for environmental protections, it is more important than ever for communities to stand up against injustice around us. After consulting with Dr. Yick, one of the lead ethnic studies teachers here at MVHS, and who is actually here today, I would like to propose a simple, low-impact way to introduce environmental justice without significantly expanding the curriculum. In Unit 5, Housing and Education, students will learn about the socioeconomic impacts of redlining. What I'm proposing is that we expand that conversation slightly to include the environmental and health impacts of those same policies. For example, freeways and industrial facilities placed in redline neighborhoods, less public transportation and fewer sidewalks, fewer trees and more heat exposure, and higher long-term health risks overall. Adding environmental justice to the curriculum will strengthen what's already there without requiring much more time or additional material. I've included my board resolution with the documents you've received. Thank you again for your time and for considering this proposal.
After Marta, we'll have Sophia Carmano. Please. There.
Good evening. I have semi-prepared statements. I was thinking a lot the last couple of days about what I wanted to say and just turning over and over in my mind, what can I say in 3 minutes that would potentially be clear and convincing, and ultimately, hopefully lead the way to save my colleagues' jobs, because that's what I'm deeply concerned about. I decided to scrap all of that because I know that our Associate Superintendent, Terry Fott, is probably going to do a really nice job explaining all of the nuances and detail and data to you. And my ask is that you consider it thoroughly and ask lots of questions to make sure that you're understanding what the potential impacts of your choices and decisions are. And this is because, to be honest, I am deeply saddened by how the decision was made last board meeting. I'm sad, of course, because the hundreds of hours put into making ethnic studies happen has been essentially tossed away. And then on top of that, there's this risk to my colleagues' jobs. But what I'm more saddened by was the apparent flippancy with which that decision was made. Like folks have stated before, we're talking 20 sections of social studies that have been cut as a result of reducing credits from 40 to 35. And this feels like a punishment for being responsive to the community and the board's asks in the past. And the reason why the decision was so hurtful is I was listening to the board meeting as I had to leave this meeting early and go put my toddler to bed, but I was listening to the comments and the final vote. And someone mentioned that they wish they could flip a coin to decide what's going to happen with ethnic studies. And that signaled to me either a lack of information or a lack of appreciation for the consequences of this choice. And either is deeply concerning to me. My ask is that you make sure that you thoroughly understand the consequences and impacts of the decisions on staffing and on students. And if you don't, sometimes no change is an option, right? Asking for more time is your prerogative and you're welcome to do that. I ask that you create a very detailed and thoughtful plan with Terry Fott as you're examining how to recover these 20 sections or how to reabsorb them to give social studies teachers options to teach social studies. And I just want you to hear that teachers make life decisions based on their tenure here, where to live, where to send their kids to school, how to care for aging family members, whether to have a second child. These are decisions that we make when we receive tenure, and the concept and the thought and the possibility of my colleagues losing their jobs and their stability is really demoralizing and scary. So please treat our work and our lives with the respect they deserve by pausing action until you are fully informed and by adopting concrete protections for staffing. These decisions deserve care and thoughtfulness. Thank you.
After Sophia, we'll have Juliet.
Dear board members and Mr. Volta, as many of you are new to MVLA, I thought I would put a human face on the social studies teachers with the least seniority at Mountain View High School, as they are the most vulnerable to the RIF process. Dr. Latina Wharton was a trial lawyer before she earned her PhD in education. She joined us during the pandemic and has brought a nuanced and culturally rich perspective to our AP World and U.S. history teams. As our only African American colleague in the social studies department, she's helped us make our classes more inclusive while maintaining rigorous curriculum. She coached our mock trial team to the semifinals, the highest they've ever gone, and she has been an invaluable resource for our students who want to pursue law. That kind of background just doesn't happen every day. If you let a person like that go, we'll never find anyone who could meet those standards to replace her. Jonathan Hubbs is another outstanding colleague specializing in AP Macroeconomics, AP Gov, and Civics and Econ. He has helped create accessible but challenging classes for his students so that they are prepared for life right after high school. Those are all senior classes. Hubbs also coaches cross country and is responsible in part for our outstanding showing at CCS championships. It seems like a terrible waste to deprive our students of coaches who help them academically, physically, in sports and other ways. Because we're making rash decisions to change curriculum unexpectedly mid-year without really understanding the full impact. I just wanted to put some real faces for you on the people that might be cut by these decisions. Thank you.
after Julie, we'll have Megan, I think.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Volta. My name is Dr. Julie Yick, and I'm one of the Ethnic Studies teacher leaders in MVLA. I've taught social studies in the district since 2012. I'm here to speak with you tonight to urge you to maintain 4 full years of social studies instruction and graduation credits and ask you to take action to protect the teachers who are highly qualified and hardworking from possible layoffs. We want to maintain the full 4 years of social studies instruction in order to provide students with the most robust amount of academic skill development possible so that they are strong critical thinkers who will be prepared to succeed in their future college prep and AP classes. We have excellent, excellent teachers in MVLA. Our students are fortunate to have such dedicated, knowledgeable, caring, and inspiring teachers to guide and mentor them. We have a large number of teachers with their master's and doctoral degrees, and many who are nationally board certified with many years of experience. In addition to tirelessly teaching, many of my colleagues serve as club advisors for groups such as Mock Trial, Black Student Union, Jewish Student Union, Muslim Student Union, and more, while others coach sports and spend their evenings and weekends traveling and competing with our student athletes. Our teachers care deeply about students and are fully dedicated to helping them excel academically and thrive on the sports field and in life. As you all know, I have advocated relentlessly for the district to maintain our year-long ethnic studies class, which has numerous academic and social benefits for students. It was heartbreaking that the board voted 3-2 last week to eliminate an entire semester of ethnic studies, thereby stripping students of so many valuable learning opportunities. Since then, it's been an extremely stressful and deeply concerning to learn that the district is considering a reduction in forces and possibly laying off 4 social studies teachers. These are people who are highly qualified and committed to MVLA. These are teachers who our students trust and depend upon. While the district has voted to eliminate a semester of ethnic studies, you can still take action to protect teachers' jobs. Maintain the 40 social studies graduation requirements. You could reconsider your vote, reinstate the full year, and protect teachers' jobs. Or you could require students to take a semester of ethnic studies and another additional semester of world history or another social studies elective course in the freshman year so that all 9th graders have the opportunity to develop the social studies literacy skills that will prepare them for high school and beyond. In conclusion, I urge you to maintain 40 social studies graduation credits to help students to be academically successful and to protect the hardworking, dedicated teachers at MVLA who are here in this room and at home tonight. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your dedication to serving our students and community.
Good evening. My name is Megan. I'm a teacher at Los Altos High School. The board's vote to reduce social studies credits from 40 to 35 places social studies positions at immediate risk. This is happening despite the fact that our teachers have spent hundreds of hours developing and implementing ethnic studies in direct response to the community's priorities. Now we are being told that this work will be discarded and that our colleagues may lose their jobs. And I'd just like to add that one of the comments from one of my students in ethnic studies last year that touched me the most was he did not want to be in the class at the beginning of the year, and very loudly with some choice words in front of the whole class talked about why he did not want to be in ethnic studies and why he was just there because it was required. And at the end of the year, not the semester, he wrote me a letter apologizing, and on the front of it he did some beautiful artwork, and it said, "Thank you for showing me a world I had not seen. And I can tell you that you do not get to see that world in a semester." And so I just think it's really important that you have a year. Now we are being told that this work will be discarded and that our colleagues may lose their jobs in the process. Much of the argument for reducing ethnic studies to a single semester rests on the fact that the original state mandate required only a semester. Yet apparently we are simultaneously discussing the possibility of making health a required course, even though it is not required by the state at all to be its own separate course. The inconsistency is difficult to reconcile, and I am pro-health and I am pro in-seat health, but To me, this is a different issue. We are also one of the wealthiest districts in California with reserves in the tens of millions. These funds exist for difficult moments, and this is unquestionably one of them. Taxpayer dollars should be actively supporting today's classrooms and today's students, not sitting unused while staffing reductions are considered. As you revisit these decisions, I ask that you consider how to protect the dedicated educators who have made significant personal and professional commitments to this district. Mitigation is possible. For example, social studies classes could be capped in a manner similar to math and English, where sections at LAHS are limited to 20 students, for example. In one of our own teachers' classrooms this year, her ethnic studies sections are 29. Her other classes range from 30 to 31. And past years, her numbers were typically 24 and below. Smaller classes have a measurable impact. With 30 students and a 60-minute work period, we can do things like 2 minutes of individual attention per student. At 20 students, that time increases by 50%, allowing for more personalized feedback, stronger relationships, and better learning. Research consistently shows that reduced class sizes lead to improved student outcomes in a more humane, supportive classroom environment. I urge the board to make decisions that both protect our students' learning conditions and the educators who serve them. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that was the last, oh, we have another one. So, so I think we have probably at least two more. Lizzie Powell.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you all for letting me speak tonight. My name is Lizzie Pyle. I'm a biology and chemistry teacher at Los Altos High School. It's my 4th year here. I'm also a DTA rep for Los Altos, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to be an advocate for the students. Everything that's been going on in the last month or so has been really confusing and distressing for a lot of my students. And it's honestly been really disappointing for me. I've been in the district for several years now, and I've absolutely loved my time here. And the decision to cut ethnic studies to a semester was really surprising to me. And honestly, it shows a reduction in opportunities for our students rather than empowering them with student choice. I really, really want to firmly come out in support of the creation of a history or social studies elective for students to fill that other semester with instead of giving them a free period or having them do health online. If they're on campus, this time should be used in a enriching and instructional manner. We have amazing, overly qualified educators that are eager to help our students. We have over $10 million in reserves. So I don't want to hear the fiscal concerns with this decision when we have already the FTE allotted for enriching social studies courses. I really implore you all to think logically about adding that, or at least considering that as an opportunity for our students. We were recently voted as the #1 district in the Bay Area, which I am so proud to serve day and night for students in this district. And I don't think that the #1 district would be cutting student opportunities without a solid, enriching replacement. I think we're all here tonight because we love our district. We love and want to advocate for our students. Taking away opportunities does not align with what and who MVLA is. I really implore all of you to think about the amazing opportunities that we can give our students to learn about history in more enriching ways. I really, really encourage you to consider that. I also just want to say that I know that history and social studies electives has been something that our community has been really rallying for and passionate about. If we're going to take away 20 sections of educational content for students, this is the perfect time to grant those community wishes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Evan Lipkin. I am a staff member here at Mountain View High School, but I was also a former student at Los Altos High School, class of 2008. I just wanted to share a little bit of my experience and what I think could be beneficial to our students going forward. And I want to thank you for your thoughtful consideration of how to sort of replace the sort of second semester of ethnic studies, whether that is an in-seat health or other sort of social studies or other option. My own experience showed me how powerful 4 years of social studies can be. I had a very inspiring ninth grade experience in world studies, and then I was eager to challenge myself with AP social studies courses throughout high school. I had that option to pursue that path because I was able to take health online. It was a choice that opened doors for me and I think shaped some of the trajectory of my education. I was really sort of happy with taking the online version of the course. I was just grateful to have that opportunity because I think it did preserve some of my course time for other areas in seat. Today, with a full second semester slot newly available for ninth graders, I guess the board does have a rare chance to reimagine what that time or that semester could offer. So I think instead of replacing ethnic studies with maybe an in-seat health requirement, which I believe the board is considering today, I think that action could be sort of seen as detrimental to some families because it may be viewed as less rigorous than, like, let's say, like a social studies semester. We can create maybe other meaningful or exciting options. So I'd say give students choice maybe amongst multiple social studies electives. Maybe there's a potential like honors or AP elective for that second semester of social studies in freshman year. And this would preserve academic rigor. It could expand student choice and it could really better prepare our ninth graders for the challenges of 10th grade and beyond then. So I just want to ask you to please consider keeping health as an online option. I think it is beneficial to a lot of students and to use maybe this moment to build a richer, maybe more engaging second semester experience for our students. I think it's an opportunity to innovate in a way that honors both student choice, voice, and academic excellence. So I want to thank you for your time and your thoughtful leadership. Thank you again on the behalf of all the teachers, all the staff, but also students as well.
Candida.
Hi, good evening. My name is Candida Diaz. I'm an ethnic studies history teacher at Los Altos High School. I've attended the last couple board meetings, and at the last board meeting, it was decided to reduce the ethnic studies requirement from a year to a semester. There are some major ramifications as a result of this action. One big issue now is the impact on our teachers. We have highly qualified educators who've worked incredibly hard to earn a place in MVLA, one of the most competitive districts in the Bay Area. Our current status as number one in the district in the Bay Area and number two in the state didn't happen by accident. It happened because we invest in excellent teachers. And yet, we are now discussing a reduction in force, something this district hasn't done in decades. In a state facing a massive teacher shortage in one of the wealthiest districts in California, with millions of dollars in reserves, we are considering laying off teachers. At the last two board meetings during the discussion about ethnic studies, many parents and community members were talking and arguing for the need for increased social studies options, not less. I urge you to think about the plan moving forward. It is still possible to pair the ethnic studies semester requirement with another social studies elective and to reject any reduction in force. Our students deserve stability. They deserve small classes, and they absolutely deserve the quality teaching that has made this district what it is. Thank you.
I think that was our last speaker. So we'll move on to the study session. Is there, and it's also 7:08, so,
So I suggest we move our study session because we have students coming in, spotlight, other people from the community coming in from the Citizens Oversight Committee, I suggest we move our studying either to another board meeting or until after 18.1 on the agenda.
What would like the board like to do?
I feel that we need to continue discussing this today, so, if we're going to, be gracious to the other people that are getting awards and things like that, that part of the agenda, I would think that we should just move this later. Unfortunately, some of the people might want to end up staying later, but some of the people getting awards and stuff, we can go ahead and move on with that right now.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable compromise if we could do the awards and then move back to graduation requirements. I think a lot of people who are in the audience are here to hear about graduation requirements or for awards.
So
If I look at who's in the audience,
the students of the month, for instance.
students of the month, and
So moving to after 13.0.
Well, so we're
Not
gonna
really
have
clear.
the study session in the middle of our regular session. Is that
Yeah.
what you're suggesting?
No, I think we could go all the way to the end. It depends.
My suggestion was after 18.3.
That feels right to me.
Yeah.
To move it to the earliest time possible so folks can stay and don't need to go too long.
But I think what you're suggesting is after our open
After
session, most of our open session.
After our regular board meeting, then we
Yeah.
would go into the study session.
18 is the full agenda.
Basically.
I see.
Well, do we feel that there's very much controversial things coming up in the rest of the regular meeting? That'll go really, really late, or? I don't think so personally, but
Is it an option to insert it somewhere in the middle of our open session?
yeah, that's what I was asking.
If you,
Yeah.
Good question.
looking at the agenda in terms of the regular board meeting agenda, you have presentations and you're suggesting we move it after the presentations. All we have after that is consolidated and 5 items under business action item. So you're looking at only 6 votes after everyone, all the outside people have come in. That's why I suggested if you want to do it after 17.5 and before the board operations, we could do that. But it just makes sense to get the meeting over with and then go this meeting, which is a separate meeting from the regular session, from the regular meeting.
Mhm.
well, I move that we put it after 5, unless some of those new course proposals, are gonna bog us down.
I don't think so based off the list, right?
Okay.
They're mostly electives and.
Right. Okay. So that I move to reconvene the study session after 17.5.
I have a question. Is it possible to do it after 14 or that's not an option?
After 14,
Yeah, right before the consolidated agenda.
I've never had a
Mm.
never had a meeting in the middle of a meeting before, so I'm sure we can if you vote for it.
Okay.
I would like to propose that we have it after 14.
I second.
So in other words, my motion fell because nobody said. No, no, fine with me.
Sorry.
Me?
Yes, do you retract it?
I retracted if
Okay.
the other one has been voted
So we're,
instead.
okay, so we're moving the study session in the middle of our open meeting session after 14.1. It
Yes,
was moved by, who was it moved by?
Moved by Tita, second.
it was moved by me,
Moved by Theta, seconded by Catherine.
No, by Alex.
By
by
Alex.
Alex.
I'm sorry. Looking at, okay. Student board members?
I approve.
I approve.
Okay, all those in favor?
I,
Moving it that way?
So then do we need to go back and do our pledge of allegiance and all that stuff now?
Sorry, wait, can we just vote, take the vote?
Yeah,
So how
I
many
thought we
want-
just did.
I,
I,
Vadim, are you, you're gonna abstain, okay.
Aye.
So 4-0 to move, four yays to move the study session after 14.0, one abstention.
okay.
Okay. So then, Catherine, you had another question?
No, was going to move to approve the agenda way revised, except for moving 17.1.
Let me get there, let me get there.
That's part of our regular.
Yeah, yeah, let
Okay,
me get there.
So we're not there yet. Okay.
We're not there yet. Okay, so we are closing the study session right now. And now we're gonna open today's board meeting session at 7:14 p.m. So we're gonna start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so roll call again. We have all 5 trustees and our 2 student trustees in attendance for today's meeting. So now are there modifications to the agenda?
I would
Catherine, you
like
have-
to say that, particularly since we just moved all this other stuff, that we move 17.1 up to after 14.1, because I hate to have the oversight committee stay all the way through the rest, and we have to take a motion, we have to do an action on that. So otherwise, I move to approve the agenda with that change, plus inserting the study session back in after 14. Well, after then 17.1.
After 17.5.
Yeah, well,
what-
No, what I
14.1, then
said-
17.1, and then study session, and then back to 15.
Actually, what I had said was the study session would be after 13.0. That's what we voted on, Alex and I.
No, we said 14, you said 14.
14. Oh, right. Okay. You're
Okay.
right. Sorry.
Yes. Okay,
Okay, I'm gonna repeat it, just
All
to
right.
make sure.
Okay, sorry.
So for today's agenda, we, Catherine, you're making a motion to move 17.1 after 14.1.
right,
And then following that would be our study
Study session.
session before 15.
yes.
Okay, so
Correct,
you're moving
yeah.
that, Catherine. Do I have a second for that? Okay, seconded by Theta. Student board members,
I approve. I approve.
all those in favor of this amended agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain again.
Abstaining, okay. Okay, so there was no report, no action taken during closed session. So that leads us to communications. Do we have any board member reports? I have a couple things, but anyone else?
You go first then. Why not?
Well, I'll go last, Theta. Okay.
So I attended the PTSA meeting where I learned about Mock Trial Club, which was mentioned in the comments. They compete as a team in mock trials with real judges. And we also heard from the Aeronautics Club, who are building a medical drone prototype. We also heard from ASB and SCL, but I won't steal Lucy's thunder by giving their news. Families and students had questions about the tennis courts, bikes and pedestrians, the city's jurisdiction, and graduation requirements, which we will discuss later. I, along with Catherine, attended the SCBA dinner where we heard from a panel of multilingual learners. I wasn't able to attend their forum on unhoused students in person, but I am getting the slide deck, and the officer said they'd look into a virtual option. That's my report.
I went to the partnership Council. And we discussed significant disproportionality of students and ways that we could address that. And the different groups came up with ideas and kind of took a survey and so on. So we have some ideas on how to address that in our population to bring all students up to the best that they can be. Also, Challenge Team had representatives from our high school district presenting again this month. And that's nice to hear the great things that our students do and how they are participants in our decision making.
Just a couple things on my end. So I attended the MVLA Foundation meeting. Theta couldn't make it, and just wanted to thank everyone who participated in the phone-a-thon. They shared some of those preliminary results. We also had the Mountain View High School tech interns present to the foundation. The foundation was very impressed by the tool that they created, their AI. I don't know if it was a draft of a policy or a policy, but was just very impressed around students being able to talk about the process that led them to that product. And then Mr. Volta and I also met with the Latino Parent Outreach Group last Friday. They had reached out and I invited Mr. Volta to join me. They also sent communication to the whole board regarding the board decision around ethnic studies. And then we talked a little bit more generally about just communication overall. LPO expressed really wanting to be much more involved and within decision that the board is gonna make and really being part of the discussion and the process. And so I think it's a great group for the staff to sort of know about and make sure that we're bringing topics in those when they're meeting. They mentioned that some of the members are also part of the Family Partnership Council as well as DLAC and ELAC. But I'll say that I hadn't seen the level of advocacy from a Latino parent group the way I did around ethnic studies. And so it was really interesting and inspiring. I'll also say that and this again is communication that the board also received, but I think worth mentioning right now, considering who's in the audience, that they reiterated this on Friday, that they really appreciate everything that the teachers have done to bring about a course. And they felt like the last couple of meetings, there were community members that weren't necessarily super respectful of teachers, and they wanted to really iterate that that is not representative of what they believe as a parent group. And so just really, really grateful for the teachers. And another, I think, important piece was Mr. Volta has added to his meeting schedule and will be meeting with LPO pretty regularly, just like he does with a lot of our parent groups within the district. So I'm happy that there will be more communication on that end. And one other thing, and I'll bring this up probably when we talk about future suggestions, but I've gotten since our last board meeting, multiple emails around our board policy regarding our meeting conduct and something we recently updated. I think I went back to see, I think it's board policy 9323 around public comment and our timing around that, and maybe something that we might want to revisit. I got some suggestions, but I can speak on it a little bit more later. Okay. Were there any other comments or reports? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a minor update since Alex is not going to speak, but Alex and I went to the foundation phone-a-thon, and I must say I was very impressed with Alex's multilingual abilities. I only spoke in English, but as usual, it was very well run, and I really appreciate the foundation's efforts And I called parents who had never donated before, and I actually did get a donation. So calling does make a difference, apparently, at least. Thank you. And the food was good, and just the level of effort that the foundation puts into. Now they have a textathon, and then they ask for suggestions afterwards, and I provided some. So I just really appreciate the foundation's thought and effort.
Now I have to add, I was going to save us some time so we can have more time for the study session and energy, but yeah, I was also deeply impressed with the foundation and the Phonaton organization. I have to say this was probably the most professional approach I've seen to any sort of like fundraising type of efforts. There was a whole script, they quickly trained people, everything was like ticking. And so I'm really grateful to the foundation's efforts and to the quality that they bring to the whole process. So big thank you to them. And yeah, Tina, you rocked and converted people. It actually is quite hard to have them answer the phone, but once they do, things can happen. And I also I also attended the CSBA meeting, but also had to leave early, unfortunately. So whenever you get the virtual presentation, I'd love to see it as well. I think that's a pretty important topic. And yeah, thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to 11.2, student board member reports. And I don't know who went first last time. So Lucy, why don't you go first?
Good evening, everyone. So for a brief update on recent student activities and the incredible engagement we've seen across campus. First, our second Harvest Food Drive has exceeded every expectation. We set an ambitious original goal of 15,000, which is what it had been in the previous years, and students, families, and community members surpassed it in under 3 days. As of recently, we've raised over $25,000, and our new goal is, I believe, $30,000, reflecting both the generosity of our community and the commitment of our students to making a tangible impact. Next, we hosted our Blue Friday Carnival last week, a lively event designed to build school spirit and bring students together. With games, music, and activities run by leadership students, the event created a fun, welcoming atmosphere and helped strengthen connections between grade levels. We also held our second Club Senate meeting, continuing to support communication and collaboration among our more than 140 clubs. And our clubs team shared updates and reminders about the upcoming events such as Holiday Fair, helping us keep student organizations active, inclusive, and well supported. Our ASB Halloween Spirit Week was another highlight. Students enjoyed school-wide trick-or-treating, and our annual costume contest drew impressive participation from both students and staff. The week brought a great deal of excitement to campus and helped foster a sense of community as we headed into the end of October. Finally, we've kicked off our badminton tournament this week, open to all students regardless of experience level, and with a strong turnout, this tournament is giving students a chance to stay active, try something new, and connect with peers in a friendly, low-pressure competition. Overall, the past few weeks have been full of energy and community building. Thank you so much for your continued support of student leadership and engagement.
Thank you, Lucy. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Good evening, MVLA board. We've had an exciting past few weeks on campus, and we're looking forward to everything coming up. Starting with ASB, the week of November 3rd included the annual volleyball tournament. It was a full week of close games, packed stands, and lots of energy. They're also preparing for our cultural rally auditions this Wednesday during tutorial, where students and clubs can try out to be part of the Cultural Spirit Week fashion show, happening later this school year. It's always been a favorite event as it gives students a chance to represent and celebrate their culture. Our ambassadors have also been busy. They've had their second transfer picnic for sophomores, juniors, and seniors, creating a welcoming space for new students to connect and build community. They also ran 2 more successful events this month, Spartan's Pause, which offered students a moment to slow down and recharge, and their mental health presentations, which focused on promoting wellness and awareness across campus. Clubs and student groups have been very active as well, organizing field trips, running school-wide events, and preparing for upcoming activities. Green Team will be hosting another Walk or Wheel Day on Friday, where students who walk or bike to school receive a snack as a thank you for choosing an environmentally friendly commute. Iwata, our club that runs the annual Sister School Exchange program each spring, is now accepting applications. And on the performing arts side of campus, the department is looking for students interested in joining the cast or crew of their upcoming spring production of 16 Edition.
Overall, it's been an eventful and exciting few weeks for many groups on our campus, and I thank you for your time.
Questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Claire. And Claire, thank you. You also presented at the foundation. You're one of the interns, right? You do your job. Okay. We're moving to 11.3, Superintendent's Report.
Okay, congratulations to Alba Garza, our McKinney-Vento and student liaison. Last Friday night, she was recognized by the Mountain View Public Safety Foundation for her work supporting the 300 families in our community that qualify for McKinney-Vento because of their unstable housing situation. Also, Adult Ed last week held a WASC advisory meeting to update their committee members on their goals and the progress that they've made on their goals this year. It's an annual meeting that they do. Also, the district on November 5th hosted a CTE industry partners breakfast, reception, and recognition, followed by a tour of Mountain View High School CTE programs. It was awesome seeing the numerous community and business leaders from the area come. They got recognized, and they were also able to see the programs at Mountain View. Also, congratulations to the Los Altos girls cross country team, Division I CCS champions. They beat Valley Christian. Also, that's water polo. Los Altos girls water polo team were Division I champions. They beat Valley Christian. That also happened last Saturday. And Mountain View boys cross country team were Division II champions. And tomorrow, the Los Altos girls tennis team compete for first place in CCS at 1 o'clock. In fact, somebody is not going to be able to go to MSAC because they're using the CCS championship as an excuse for not showing up to it. Good choice, Lucy. And now we'll call up from Mountain View High School, Dr. Glazier.
And the girls water polo team is playing semifinal for NorCal.
And they're in the semifinals for NorCal?
After winning the Division I, yes. Tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Good evening. As Mr. Volta said, our boys cross country won first place and our girls won second place, and they will be competing. That's cross country Division II. They'll be competing at the state in a couple of weeks. Our girls tennis team is one of the CCS Scholastic Team Award winners. And last week we had our fall play, Shakespeare in Love, which was a great success. Our marching band had a wonderful season where they placed 4th out of 11 schools at the last competition, and they've done such a great job. And I want to give a huge shout out to our College and Career Center counselors who hosted a very successful financial aid night. And Mr. Volta was also there to support our families who's getting a little stressed because there are students about to go to college. And I wanted to thank our counseling department for doing a great job of supporting all our students.
Next up, Ms. Woolfolk from Alta Vista and Alt Ed.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm going to stick a little bit with the social studies theme to talk about Alta Vista. One thing that's been so fun to watch is our seniors in civics engaged in heated and passionate debate around current political issues through elections for being president of the United States and so on. And I kid you not, the whole school got involved with buttons, campaign posters, and so on. And at one point, it was lunch, and I see 2 seniors passionately arguing about something, and I think, what's this? They were actually arguing about health insurance and health insurance coverage. My heart just grew. And another thing that's coming up, I want to give a big thank you for is tomorrow we'll be having mock interviews for all grades, all students, speaking aloud and speaking about yourself and in a different type of register and preparing you for the future is so important to all students. And we actually would like to thank Rotary because Susie Milkey and about 25 to 30 Rotary volunteers are coming to give it a more real world, authentic feel. And they've been practicing for weeks in their advisory classes. So that's a few things happening at Alta Vista. Thank you.
Adult education, Ms. Vo.
Good evening. I just wanted to share with our board, thank you to Mr. Volta for attending Adult Ed's annual WASC advisory meeting last week. We are now in year 3 of our WASC accreditation cycle, and it was very well attended, and we received feedback from numerous stakeholders, including employment partners, community-based organizations, students, and staff and teachers. We also recently had our regional North Santa Clara County Consortium for Adult Ed's regional networking meeting, and this was held over at De Anza College. That was also very well attended. We had a student panel, and MVLA students were part of that fireside chat and student panel, and we're able to share some success stories. Thank you.
And finally, from Los Altos High School, Dr. Ranieri.
Hi, good evening. A couple of school highlights I'll repeat because they're worth it. We are just so thankful and proud of our school for raising over $27,000 towards our increasing goal of $35,000 for the Second Harvest Food Bank of Silicon Valley. And we know that's not possible without the generous support of our staff, our students and families who continue to donate this month. In the first week alone, we raised over $10,000. And as a result of the compassionate donations, Los Altos High School is currently the team leader in the entire Second Harvest of Silicon Valley County for donations to the local food bank, whose organization serves about 500,000 people a month in Silicon Valley. So it's really nice to know that that money and food is providing for our local community. Regarding teaching and learning, our course teams continue to incorporate best instructional practices into their lessons and report that it is increasing the quality of student discourse and improving academic performance. Our teachers continue to create structures that facilitate student interaction, and they get to hear what students are thinking before they write a final paper, take a test, or complete the assessment tied to the lesson. And finally, we have our ASB continues to reach out to students in other ways to get participation beyond traditional sports and activities. And so we have a badminton tournament happening this week with over 80 teams that are signed up to play in the tournament. And we can't wait to see who wins. Thank you.
And that concludes the superintendent's report for Big Game Week.
Thank you. All right, 11.4, district organizations. Do we have any updates? Anyone who wants to present?
Did you speak?
CSCA.
we have.
Good evening. Seems like everybody has to move the mic a little bit, huh? Good evening, trustees, Superintendent Volta, and community members. Thank you for making space in the agenda for me to speak. I'm David Campbell, president of the Mountain View Los Altos Union District Teachers Association. I represent the nearly 300 teachers, counselors, psychologists, and speech language pathologists employed by the district. I'm here to discuss the changes to the ethnic studies and social studies graduation requirements that have raised legitimate concerns across our district. Concerns about student opportunity, program stability, and the future of our teaching staff. We know the board faces difficult choices. We also know that educators across all departments, social studies, health, English, PE, science, the arts, to name a few, are deeply committed to supporting our students through these changes. What I believe truly, unites the trustees with the teachers is a shared goal to provide every student in this district with a rich, rigorous, and inclusive education. I see inclusive on the wall there, so I think we can agree on that. DTA's focus right now is clear and unwavering to protect the jobs of every member in every department and to ensure that no one bears the burden of these programmatic shifts alone. We believe this can be achieved. Through open collaboration with the district, careful planning, and transparent communication, we can adjust course offerings and class sizes in a way that honors both fiscal responsibility and the value of the people who make our schools what they are. We are already engaged in conversations with district leadership to find those solutions. And while there is understandable anxiety among our members, we want to emphasize this is not a time for division. It is a time to stand together as one district, one staff, one community, all committed to stability for educators and continuity for our students. Our teachers have always been the strength of this district. We are asking that in the decisions that follow, that strength be protected and that our shared commitment to students guide every step forward. Thank you.
No one from CS. Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to 11.5, public comment on items that are not on the agenda. Heather Boyle.
Hi, I'm Heather Boyle. I teach health, and I'm here to advocate for all students taking health in seat and transitioning it to the 9th grade moving forward. 40% of students in MVLA now take an online health class that does not fulfill California state law. Many complain feeling forced into this option because there's no good pathway for in-seat health. The way this has been done in our district is far from the norm. Most districts in the state require all students to take a semester of health in seat in the 9th grade. We have solid policy, but there has been sloppy practice of not requiring students to take a quality course that is properly compliant with state law. You all inherited this problem, but you have the opportunity to fix it now that there is an open semester in 9th grade schedules. Even if someone released a better online course right now, it would only be up to date for a brief period of time. Health classes need to be updated every semester to be medically accurate and current with new state requirements. The California Healthy Youth Act and mental health ed laws require instruction and materials to be appropriate for English learners and students with disabilities, requiring curriculum differentiation and accommodations be made. The law requires instructors to be trained and knowledgeable. Instructors in the online courses and summer school have not had the appropriate background and training to be compliant with state law in our district historically. Some topics are impossible to teach online properly, like negotiation and refusal skills, consent, what to do when a friend might be at risk for suicide. These verbal skills must be practiced out loud with peers. The CPR law requires students to perform hands-on practice. The mental health ed law requires coordination with mental health providers. This is critical because when you are teaching about mental health conditions and suicide risk, there are students who start to recognize the signs and symptoms in themselves or their friends. Just this past week, I had 4 students disclose to me that they or a friend were in mental health crisis and needed our campus therapists. It's scary to think what happens when students are reading online with no trained adult present to support them. Ed tech companies are always promising that a compliant program is just around the corner, but they are very difficult for parents to review, often don't have good plans for what to do if a parent has to opt their student out of sex ed, and the district must do a full compliance review of these curricula. It has to be done by a qualified health educator or a committee of teachers, parents, and healthcare professionals. I'll be emailing you all data explaining why it's so critical to teach health skills early and to be inclusive of English learners and students with IEPs, looking at our California Healthy Kids Survey data. I hope you'll take a serious look at the data and requirements and that you will see what's best for youth and the district is to take this opportunity to improve health ed with quality in-seat for all. Thank you.
You have another one. Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to 12.0, our students of the month. And so we'll have Mountain View go first.
Mountain View High School proudly recognizes Amanda Ford as the November Student of the Month, celebrating her creativity, leadership, and service to the community. Amanda Ford is a motivated student at MVHS who actively participates in a variety of school activities. She represents student voices at MVLA superintendent meetings as a member of MSAC, and advocates for her AVID class at AVID site meetings. Amanda founded the Poetry Club at MVHS, creating a safe, supportive space where students can express themselves creatively. Recently, the club organized an open mic event at a local senior center, where students shared original poems and engaged with community members. She looks forward to organizing similar events in the future. Amanda serves as Vice President of the National Honor Society, leading meetings, promoting volunteer opportunities, and encouraging meaningful service. She is also a dedicated member of the school swim team, earning gold members each year at the CIF state championships, and she anticipates another successful season. Outside of school, Amanda enjoys performing her poems at monthly open mic nights and spending time with friends. She is passionate about photography, capturing moments both for leisure and while volunteering at live events. She also finds her volunteer work with Listening to Me, an organization that supports and educates deaf children, particularly fulfilling, whether participating on panels, giving speeches, emceeing events, or assisting with charity efforts. Some of Amanda's favorite memories at MBHS include participating in various homecoming court activities, sharing her poem at the Ambassadors Unity Walk event, interacting with her peers at football games, and laughing daily with her best friend during bus rides to school. After graduation, Amanda plans to attend an in-state 4-year university with interest in psychology or speech-language pathology. Amanda's leadership, compassion, and commitment to her community makes her an inspiring choice for Mountain View High School's November 2025 Student of the Month Award. Thank you.
Congratulations, Amanda. You clearly have a lot of folks that know you here. Do you have anything you'd like to share with the board? Anything you'd like to?
Like what?
Anything you'd like to say?
Just thank you. I'm really honored that I was chosen as Student of the Month, and I really love this school, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So thank you.
Awesome. Amanda, do you have any family with you, friends, anyone that can join us for a picture?
Please join us.
All right, I'll just.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Ella Omura, a remarkable student from Los Altos High School, class of 2026. Ella is known throughout the school for her compassion, confidence, and powerful voice, traits that shine through in everything she does. She has been deeply involved in shaping the culture of Los Altos High as a student community leader since her freshman year, an appointed role that bridges students, administration, and staff. Through this program, she's helped launch long-term wellness initiatives, guided freshmen through orientation, and led service learning and mental health projects that promote a positive, inclusive environment on campus. In addition to her leadership at school, Ella serves as a student leader on the YMCA Project Cornerstone Student Leadership Council. In this role, she provides youth perspective and contributes to projects that strengthen the organization's programs and outreach. Whether she's brainstorming fundraising ideas, discussing recruitment strategies, or helping shape youth-led initiatives, Ella continues to demonstrate her ability to connect people and inspire collaboration. Her commitment to learning goes beyond her high school walls. Ella has taken on a dual enrollment coursework at Foothill College, where she'll study psychology, and she's pursued accelerated Mandarin studies through the Language Bird program. She's also been recognized for her outstanding academic character, earning the Collaborative Learner Award in Social Studies, Student of the Semester honors twice, and the Outstanding Ethnic Studies Student of the Year award. Even while exploring interests in fields like psychology and data science, Ella's creativity flourishes through her poetry and performance. She was a poetry slam finalist and helped found her school's first student-run theater company, Blue Broadway. Above all, Ella Amora is a student who embodies leadership through empathy and action. She doesn't just participate in her community, she helps shape it. With her curiosity, discipline, and genuine care for others, she's certain to make a lasting impact wherever she goes next. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ella. I'm not surprised to see you here. I know you've addressed the board before, and I think you, if I remember correctly, you shared a really moving piece at a board meeting once. So congratulations. Is there anything you'd like to share with the board?
I do actually have a few words. Good evening, everyone. I'm so deeply honored to be recognized as the Student of the Month. Thank you so much for this incredible privilege. I was a little stunned to hear I'd received this award because I don't really consider myself the typical profile of student who would receive it. I don't have a 4.5 GPA, or I'm the president of multiple clubs, or invented an AI app. But what I am is a community uniter, and I wanted to share with you how I think MVLA has had an impact on shaping me into the person I am today. I've been part of the Special Education Therapeutic Study Skills class since my freshman year, a program very well funded by you, the trustees. This class teaches life resiliency skills, but what means most to me is the community of classmates. I found a sense of peer support and acceptance, and this community has been the foundation that's given me the courage to be an advocate for a diverse set of interests, for the queer community, for the neurodiverse community, and the Asian American community. This has all let me feel empowered to advocate openly for destigmatizing mental illness. And I felt empowered to speak to you back in my freshman year in support of the ethnic studies curriculum. But I have been through some very challenging times in high school, and I'm in fact going through something especially hard right now, but I don't think I could make it through all of this without the inspiration and role modeling of a few of my staff members, Dr. Persephone Hitlian, Mr. Cuevas, Mr. Rojas, Mr. Bettenker, Miss O'Hare, Miss Wemmer, Mr. Mock, and Miss Alvarado. The teachers and staff of this district have supported me wholeheartedly throughout all 4 years. They've taught me to accept the unpredictability of life and that I can make it through the toughest of times. They've truly made a difference in my life. Thank you again for this incredible honor. I am extremely proud to represent the MVLA district.
Ella, before you sit down, do you have family that is with you? If we can join us for a quick picture. Great. Now we have an MVLA spotlight. And who's presenting? Susan?
Hello again. First of all, I have the privilege of introducing you to our MVLA Spotlight Award winner for November, Mr. Anthony Pineda, creator and founder of Creatrix Institute. Come on up. Alta Vista High School is proud to share MVLA Board of Representatives and MVLA Community this month's Spotlight Award. Mr. Pineda, creator and founder of Creatrix Institute, over the last 2 years working with Alta Vista High, Anthony has helped students learn, heal, and develop their literacy, interpersonal, and artistic skills by connecting with music and culture. He has truly changed lives for the better through the AVHS Hip Hop Academy. And seeing so many of my friends from the World Language Department, it makes me actually think of our national world language standards that has to do with real world and authentic use of language across communities, interpersonal connection, as well as working through other departments, English and performing arts and so on, to really develop culture and develop our students. In one example of Anthony's work with our AVHS students, he engaged a student that had been completely nonverbal, detached and withdrawn from everyone at school. Anthony worked closely and patiently with the student in articulating her words to express herself more effectively in different environments. At the completion of the program, Anthony encouraged her to seek out further counseling support on site, and she was receptive to weekly sessions with our CASI therapist. And the student has blossomed over the past year and learned the power of self-advocacy. And honestly, this is not a singular example. The mission of Anthony's work, and I might ask him to say a bit more about it, and Creatrix Institute is to build communities, promote healing, integrate culture, and give people access to personal development. We're here to help build the agency of all peoples we work with, and host a platform to share knowledge. With a cultural perspective and technology, Creatrix Institute and Hip Hop Academy construct innovative ways to access each person's unique gifts and voice. And before I love this photo. This is one of our graduate cohorts of Hip Hop Academy. But before I pass it off to the board, I'd also like to say a very special thank you to Alba Garza, who is here. You may have heard about her, as well as William Blair, who have worked diligently so hard over the last few years to bring Hip Hop Academy and help it keep coming back to Alta Vista High School. So pass it off.
Good evening, board, superintendent. Honored. Thank you. I didn't know what to expect tonight, but obviously, what comes to mind is transformation. I know when we think about hip hop, we often think from a place of either music that you've seen or heard on the radio or stereotypes that have been instilled within hip hop culture, but I'm living proof that it saves lives. If you know my personal story, hip hop is the reason I'm here. And I've watched this unfold multiple times. I've been teaching youth how to rap for the last 15 plus years. I've worked in education, I've worked in mental health, and the transformation and the tears that I've shared with students in the studio and recording them and letting them have space is transformation. Not only for them, but on a selfish tip, it's been for me too. I've been very privileged and honored to be transformed by the voices of youth for many, many, many years. And so I just want to keep that in your consciousness about hip hop as a culture and not just a music. It's something that I practice every day. It is one of my cultural connections to the world, the global world, not just here in the United States, but it is a global community, a global culture. I've now worked with people all across the world. As soon as hip hop comes in, it's family. So it's been a privilege to work with Alta Vista, phenomenal people, first and foremost, that are there supporting these students. And it's been a pretty epic journey with the students themselves, being able to create, process, and generate original music pieces for themselves to go back. And I'll share recently, and I shared with them already, but one of the students, another student who was just going through so much, I mean, the sheer amount of situation that he was in. And he's no longer at the school, unfortunately. But he reached out the other day and he sent me the music piece that he promised me that he couldn't complete because of things that were happening in his personal life that he just couldn't make it. He couldn't get there to record with me. And he sent me his piece and I was so proud of him. And it was such a privilege. And I told him, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like I told him, you made my day. And he's like, I told you I would follow through. And I was like, I always believed you. So please keep me updated. And that was such a special moment for me. And this just happened in the last month. So thank you to you, to you, to you, to you for allowing this program to operate in the district. It's been truly a privilege and an honor for me, and I welcome the partnership further and growing. However you all see it, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I head up there, I just want to thank you on behalf of the board and just your service to our MVLA students. Okay. That takes us to 14.1, our Measure Bond Citizens Oversight Committee Annual Report to the board.
Well, thank you. I'd like to invite up Citizens Oversight Committee Chair Fiona Walter up to the podium to provide the annual report. It's included as an attachment to the agenda item, but Fiona will share just a few comments. As you know, when we passed Measure E in 2018, one of the requirements of a facilities bond like that is a Citizens Oversight Committee. So it's now, it's what, 6th, 7th year. There's been some turnover. Later in the consolidated motion, we'll be recommending approving 2 new members of that committee. And they look at all the financials and all the projects we do to make sure it's true to what the voters approved back in 2018. So with that, Fiona, why don't you come up and you can share.
You are very optimistic. Hi, everybody. Nice to be here. I will not delay your evening further, but I did want to stop in and speak on behalf of the Oversight Committee and let all of you know what a phenomenal job, which you probably already know, your team is doing, that Mike and the team is doing. And I'm not going to read this whole letter to you, but the part that you care most about is the very last paragraph. Based on our review and observations, the Citizens Oversight Committee finds that the district is in compliance with the requirements of Article 13A, Section 1B3 of the California Constitution, and that funds are being used for the purposes specified in the ballot language. So we're a great little crew, our oversight committee. Everybody brings a lot of expertise, and we're so grateful for the information that we get. We know that we can ask Mike for anything, and we always get an answer. We always get good answers. If we're not happy with those answers, we can ask more questions. We feel really confident in the work that you're doing. And at a personal level, having been here from the get-go on all of this, we're 92% done. We're getting there, and these schools are amazing. Our campuses are absolutely beautiful. So from that point, a huge thank you to all of you. I'm happy to take questions if you have questions about the committee or anything else that we're up to. Okay. Bye. Have a good rest of your evening. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much, Fiona. Okay, so we moved 17.1, and this is to approve the report. Is that correct?
I move that we accept the bond Citizens Oversight Committee Annual Report.
Okay. Moved by Catherine. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Vadim. Student board members.
I approve.
I approve.
Board, all in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Fiona and team.
Yeah, thank you for all the work prior to today's report, but continuing to really support the district. So thank you. Okay. So that passes 5-0.
Okay. Retake.
Okay, so now we are going to come back to our study session. So
Well, the study session really is about board policy 6146.1, high school graduation requirements. You have it in your packet right there, and there was He's at the front of the room as well. We currently have two matrices for our graduation requirements. One for the class of 2006 and prior, and one for the class of 2007 and after. With the vote from last, it looks like this right here. It was the third item in your packet. With the vote that was taken last week, the question is, obviously next year, class of 2030 will be under the 5 credits of ethnic studies graduation requirements. What do we do with this year's juniors, sophomores, and freshmen? I suggest that we have one graduation requirement for all students after the class of 2026, and that is 5 credits of ethnic studies. Students that have already completed ethnic studies, they have 5 credits of elective. There's no harm there. Students that are transferring into our schools after the fact will be able to transfer, take the semester ethnic studies, and even this year's freshmen, we do not have room. They will remain in their ethnic studies courses for the remainder of this year, taking, and 5 credits will be elective and go towards a graduation as a graduation requirement ethnic, and it'll count as a year-long course as well. That's my suggestion. But this is the time to talk about it before we bring it back.
I have one question that has to do with people that sadly failed the ethnic studies and or the transfers in. They if they passed one semester but not the other, that's okay, or what? You know, from the upperclassmen that have already taken it.
In the graduation requirement, will say 5 credits of ethnic studies. It won't delineate between first or second semester for those 3 years.
Okay. And then anybody coming in from outside newcomers or whatever, added as an upperclassman, they will still have to take ethnic studies, but it'll be 1 semester.
Correct.
Okay. You're asking us to do this.
Well, I'm asking you for input, and that way I can bring we can bring the policy back to you to review.
Okay.
Remember, this policy created some discussion the last time we brought it. I'm trying to clarify before we bring it back again.
I feel like there's some things left out about just looking at a matrix like this. So could I say a few things? Or where are we in this?
No,
Okay. Okay. Well, I have to say that I'm a bit disappointed with ourselves for the way we segmented the decision making to ethnic studies or not, separate from the whole social studies requirement. And it's turned out to be a little bit of an unintended consequences as far as I'm concerned, is because now we have a lot of angst and stuff about what we're going to do with 5 other credits of students that need to take something or another. So when we were first discussing this quite a while back, I was asking questions of the social studies department and so on about whether you could condense some of the more key points into 1 semester, and many other school districts offered as 1 semester. And the state demanded at the time that we have at least 1 semester. And I thought from what I was hearing that we could do that, even though many people preferred that we have 2 semesters. The overwhelming public input that we got last spring and so on was to have no required ethnic studies. And there was a lot of comment and a lot of public comment here at those meetings. Then we were thinking about it and so on. And then more recently, an entire different part of the community came wanting to present the case for having the whole year of ethnic studies. I felt when I made my vote that a compromise was appropriate to have one semester of ethnic studies. By no means, though, did I mean that we would not offer other social studies classes. And over the whole last year, I've heard things like, well, come back with world issues, or some class that we used to offer. Take the rest of what was in ethnic studies and put it into a different kind of class. Or the LPO recommended a class in Latino studies or whatever. So it was my vision, or still is, that would then come up with not too long a list, or that would diffuse it too much, and then there'd be only 2 people taking each thing or whatever, but come up with 2 or 3 really great ideas of classes that have been taught before, or that could be taught, that would be of interest and quite related to ethnic studies, perhaps, and or what some people felt they were missing in terms of world history, and offer that. And they would take that in their other semester. Along those lines, although I really appreciate that health is an important subject too, and even when my son was in school and a few years back, I thought, seems that online maybe doesn't get you as much of detail and a robust situation. Maybe the content itself might be, but in terms of your interaction with others about it, as if you were in seat, I don't like mixing the social studies situation with the health. I would like to address the health situation, but not right this minute. And also in the pipeline, legislatively at the state level, we're probably going to have a requirement, unless they change their mind about that one too, for financial literacy. And that is going to be a semester class. So I would rather deal with looking into the whole health curriculum separate, and possible other classes we may need to add, like financial literacy, separately. Leave it out of the rest of this discussion about social studies. And I would like to see the social studies departments come up with a few good options that would engage students and they would want to take for the other semester. That is my opinion there. And Evan said some of these similar things in a letter. LPO said similar things. Kevin in his write-up had some very specifics on how this could all work out. That was my vision personally when I made the decision I did, is that we would have a robust arrangement of social studies classes. Now, I honestly did not feel I was cutting off the idea of having 40 credits in social studies but that was not the way the motion was made, and my main goal, or my main thought, was I wanted to go ahead and compromise with ethnic studies and make it one semester. To add these other social studies classes, I think we should do them certainly as electives, and we may or may not in the future readdress on whether we would make it 40 total credits again. But at least I would like to see not have a reduction in the social studies staff, and not intermix it with trying to discuss health and stuff like that at the same time. So that's my point of view.
Anyone else want to share? Well, yeah, anyone else want to share? Well, I just, I think I had a couple more logistical questions. I mean, I already said what I said at the last meeting. I was for keeping the year-long course for many reasons, one of those being not disrupting the amount of work that has already gone into the course, and being able to really leverage all our teachers. In light of the decision, I have questions around whether because we're not mandating and we're saying it's an elective, and I brought this up slightly after the decision was made, after we took the vote. I question, will students sign up their freshman year to take electives, like history electives versus completing graduation requirements? I don't know the answer to that, but I don't think the electives necessarily solve some of the concerns that we've heard during public comment today. So if someone wants to, Terry or Eric, if you want to speak to that, like likelihood of student, I mean, we don't know the future, but I just wonder about that.
I think you just said it. We don't know the future. We're looking at something, the master schedule building process, the assignment of staffing to classes is something that gets started in January and is not completed until May, when you're talking about how the master schedule is built. And even then, there's tweaks that are made during the summer if there are some changes in or holes that are found and so on. So I don't know that I can definitively say, or anyone can definitively say, what's going to happen in terms of the staffing piece. As far as the other piece with the electives, if we stay, the other part of the study session was to stay status quo in terms of how students are given a choice as to whether or not they want to take health via adult ed or whether they want to do it in seat. And because one of the things that all of you agreed on last meeting is that students should have a choice. And once we nail that down, and if we do stay status quo, then Terry and team can start developing those electives that students may opt to take in lieu of taking health. And that's why that was the two thing. And so my suggestion is, number one, so that we don't penalize students down the road because of the change. Going backwards in a graduation requirement, this is a first for me. And so I don't think we want to penalize students during this transition. And then the second piece is, I honestly think we should stay status quo until we see what happens with health and with students choosing whatever classes. We haven't even had our first interim report on the budget yet. So maybe Mike and Elvis might be qualified to talk about the budget, but they're still we're meeting today as far as assumptions for our multi-year budget. So this is very, very early in the process to give any kind of definitives on how things are going to go. And that's why this decision does seem a little bit rushed, so that we would have time to implement for next year, which was a concern of this board last spring.
So at the last meeting, as you know, I voted for year-long ethnic studies, just focused on student outcomes and high quality instruction. And those remain my goals. The recent decision has raised uncertainty about which semester course freshmen will take with ethics studies. And teachers are understandably concerned, as they've shared all along and tonight. So I think there is a question of whether or not we can use funds. Property tax is an all-time multi-year low. So I question if we have funds while remaining fiscally responsible. If we do, that would be great. But my concern is that staffing is the largest part of our budget. So I do not want to overspend now to weaken our ability to sustain staffing in the future. That said, the number of projected freshmen has not changed, and almost all take 7 periods. So we will still need the same number of classes. So I hope that students would prefer to take social studies. But I'm now kind of in a rock and a hard place. So given our new constraints, I just have to ask the teachers for some patience and flexibility. This is not where I would like to be. I don't think it's where you would like to be. And we just have to work together to try to figure this out. My commitment is to support teachers through this transition because we attract and retain teachers of the highest caliber. I see your passion and your dedication to our students. To that end, consistent with board governance, I am waiting for our social studies teachers to bring forward a proposal for second semester courses. The board approves course curricula. We do not prescribe specific classes unless state law requires it. And I'm confident that our teachers can design curricula that meet our board goals, which include inclusion, as others have mentioned, and are academically excellent and engaging and serve our students well. As far as health goes, I hear concerns about health from families who want choice and families who believe in in-person health. The state requires us to teach the material. And some ask me, why do we require a health class? Well, the only other logical classes to teach the material is freshman PE. Students can waive PE entirely, so teaching health during PE isn't an option. We allow students to waive PE for each season they're participating in a CCS-CIF sport. I support the PE waiver policy because the data shows sports are good for students' academic performance and mental health. So I support continuing a separate health class. I asked Eric, and he provided a thorough review of the summer class. And I would say it's a hybrid class because there's some in-person components and the in-person semester health class. Our summer school class is through adult ed, and the curriculum is through a vendor. The in-person class is taught by our credentialed high school teachers who are highly qualified, as you have heard tonight. Fentanyl education is a requirement for 26-27. Our high school teachers were teaching it ahead of the mandate, but a vendor has no incentive to offer new material until required by law. Families need to work with their counselors so they're fully aware of these differences and they're making informed choices. Families vary in access to resources and comfort with sensitive topics. Students can start health with a range of experiences, having talked through every topic with a trusted adult to no experience. It would be difficult for us to gather that information with fidelity as a district. My job as a trustee is to make data-driven decisions about student outcomes. At this time, I haven't seen evidence, and I'm happy to read the evidence that is provided to me, the timing or modality on health changes student outcomes. So until I see that data, my direction is to ensure robust counseling so families understand their options and to keep monitoring mandated curriculum alignment between summer school, hybrid, and in-person health. If we see data that student outcomes differ by timing or modality, we should absolutely take action. But at this point, I have not seen that data. So I look forward to reading how there's report, but until that time, I think no action, because to me, if one thing I hope this board has learned is you need to fully understand the repercussions of a decision before you take action, and no action. This isn't to say I don't support in-person health, but to me, no action is best until I have all the data that I need to make a decision. And I don't feel I have the full information. Thank you.
May I add one more thing about health? And that is, I taught, until COVID, I had taught CPR for like over 30 years for the Red Cross and first aid and EMR. And I was an EMT for a while too. And I know that to actually do some skills like CPR in person are very important. And I know that mental health issues particularly since COVID, are rampant. And all the support a student can get is great. However, like I said, I would rather not intermix it with the social studies situation and wait for more data, as Thea said, so that we can study that department, PE and health and so on separately. And then add new courses that were mandated, like financial literacy, and as they come along, and then adjust accordingly.
I'll go. So I also want to acknowledge the emotion in the room here. Very clearly, our social studies teachers care deeply about their students and the social studies curriculum, and that dedication deserves a lot of respect, a lot of appreciation, a lot of gratitude, and a lot of care. As we move into the implementation planning for the decision we made, I think what matters most is proceeding thoughtfully, supporting our students and supporting our staff through that transition. So with that, Eric, I actually fully support both of your recommendations. Number one is not penalizing the current students for this transition. And number two, speaking about health and keeping it a status quo, I sort of continue to believe in student choice. I think that's really, really important. Students should have the flexibility in which classes they take and how they take them. And so having health as an option and SEED an option online, I think that opens up scheduling opportunities for them to pursue other important classes as well, for example, social studies. And I think that flexibility really helps them build balanced schedules that are tailored to their passions and meet their needs. And yeah, I really think we should, as a board, focus on smooth and well, and as a district, focus on smooth and well-planned transition for programs and for staff. We need the implementation process to give it time to play out with teacher input, and then we can talk about the rest of things. So yeah, I want to make sure that the teachers have an opportunity to give input into anything that they are planning for the second semester and have a real voice in shaping that next phase. And I'm sure we'll find good ways to work together and actually deliver the best that we can, both for our students and our teachers. So.
The only thing I would add is I appreciate the input that the teachers provided, both social studies teachers as well as health teachers. The study session, I think they ask from you, Eric, is to our opinion about the how to change the graduation requirement. And recommendation is to change it starting with the 2027 year. That recommendation to me makes total sense, so that the incoming students have an opportunity to satisfy the graduation requirement. Otherwise, they won't be able to. So that option. Okay. So the option of changing the graduation requirement beginning in 2027 year allows any incoming student to the district to satisfy the graduation requirement to graduate with a diploma, as well as students who have failed ethnic studies or somehow didn't complete it. They will have an opportunity to take a semester-long ethnic studies that is required based on our decision in the last board meeting. So I'm fully aligned with that recommendation, and I'm also aligned with the recommendation of keeping, of not changing anything related to health, and create an opportunity for students to take it in seat or online as it is available today.
So Eric, with the direction, are you understanding that we would like some a plan or proposal from social studies on what other classes they would like? Kevin already wrote out like a plan that's more detailed, but I mean, of classes that several different choices of classes they think it would be a good idea to incorporate together with our situation.
New courses, new course proposals and so on are something that come, I don't want to circumvent the regular process. We've already told the school sites that we will allow more time to create these classes. They will work with their department coordinators, their assistant principals to create these courses, at least give us an outline, bring the course proposal here for approval, depending on how many courses per site, that's something that Terry will work with the sites on before we bring it back here.
I would like to add another wrinkle though, and that is many people have mentioned the difference between at Los Altos, you have a choice of geography, history through geography, and you don't at Mountain View. And then on the other hand, you have
You're talking about the sophomore year AP offerings? Right.
yeah, because we're talking about social studies here, and I want to kind of, that's the thing I feel we've been a little disconnected all along. It's like, oh, now just make a decision on ethnic studies or just make a decision on this one or that one. I would like to have kind of like a holistic approach to the whole social studies program through the whole number of years, not just say, oh, no, we're only discussing freshmen here and only discussing sophomores here, you know, in our terms of our graduation requirements.
I would advise that we don't, I mean, the sophomore year AP offerings that satisfy our world history graduation requirements along with the UCCSU world history have developed over a number of years. I know there may be a desire to have all three offerings at both high schools, yet given that we are condensing one course from a year to a semester, that we are also potentially creating and teaching another new semester course, I think we hold off on working with the school sites. Maybe it happens naturally whereby Mountain View will add AP Human Geography and Los Altos will offer AP World down the road, but I don't think that that should be a board decision at this time or board direction at this time. I think that's something that we should hold off on for a while.
Ida, may I finish this part of the conversation? And that is, well, what does the social studies department think about that on both campuses? And also, I read a lot of comments about input from the public. And the social studies department are in the best position because they're the ones that teach it of what they should have. But like LPO gave some suggestions of classes they'd like to see. And there's a couple of other individuals have suggested, why don't you have a class like this? So how should they all submit their input to the social studies department? Through Terry or through what? Just so the public knows how they give their input to their process, if they have any.
That's a great question because most, like I said, new courses come from the school site. So if they were thinking about a new course, yes, they can email Terry about potential ideas for new courses.
Yeah. I just, you know, because LPO, for instance, said, oh, we like to be part of the process. Well, how do they get part of the process? They could email their ideas to the social studies departments. They may or may not be taken, but at least they have that input because they sent it to us. I don't know that they sent it to the social studies teachers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they should send it to to myself or to Terry or at one of the meetings that I see that so there will be opportunities.
Yeah.
I guess I just want to make it clear, unless the board disagrees, that we've always, as a board, had a teacher-led curriculum where the teachers, they need time. They've said they need time to come back to us with classes. And I want to respect that time. I think parents are welcome to give input, but ultimately, teachers are the subject matter experts. And I'm looking to them to, just as we're approving more CTE classes tonight, those came to us from teachers. And that is how, that is my expectation of how things will go forward. So I just wanted to make that clear to people who may be asking me or asking Eric, that this is now goes back in the teacher's hands. If the courses are in front of the board, then you can then say, I don't like whatever it is, world philosophy or whatever course, you can say you don't like it. In fact, that's why we have these courses that we're going to approve tonight. So if someone wants to come and say they hate, sorry, I'm not going to pick on a class, but they hate whatever it is, they can come and say they hate it because of this reason, or they love it because of this reason. That's why we have approvals of these classes. It's not that we just rubber stamp it. I do actually read all the course descriptions, and I think about, are there students who are going to be interested in taking this class?
Oh, yeah. One other comment there too is in terms of iterative refinement is that you can always improve on a class, or I wouldn't call it a pilot, a new class, but if the class isn't working out for whatever reason, in a year or two after you've set it up and people are taking it, then there's always the option to withdraw too, right?
The beauty of a student-based master schedule is students will sign up for electives that they want to take. And the teachers also know that they have to create courses that students will want to take.
Mhm.
So that's usually why we leave it in the hands of the school sites. Okay, so I think that concludes our study session, and we have good direction to update our graduation policy, and we're not making any changes, and I think Terry knows which direction to go now, and we're good.
Okay. So we'll conclude the study session and now move on to the consolidated agenda.
Let me find it. Yeah. All right. I move that we approve the consolidated agenda.
No one needs to pull or anything?
This would be 15.1 through 15.6.
Okay.
Second.
All right, moved by Catherine. Seconded by Theta. I'm gonna keep moving. Student board members.
I approve. I approve.
Okay, board, all in favor of approving the consolidated agenda?
Aye.
All right. Yeah, 5-0. Okay, so we're on to the business items. We already did 17.1 earlier. 17.2, our annual organization meeting for next time we come together in December 15th. Is this just, we need to,
We just need to state that it's our organization meeting.
okay. Do I have a motion to?
So
move?
moved. Yeah. Or no, you beat me to it.
All right, moved by Theta.
Second by Catherine.
Okay, student board members,
I approve. I approve.
board, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we'll have our organization meeting next time. And then we have a first reading of our meeting dates, I believe, for 2026. And I think these were also included. Was there any comments or?
It mirrors this year's calendar.
Any questions or comments, edits from the board? On the proposed calendar? There's these two.
You showed us this earlier, right? This is part of the earlier thing.
We
you
got
looked
them
at.
in the mail. I mean, in the email.
Yeah, it's part of the packet. They're the meetings for the 26-27 school year. This way we can approve it on in our organizational meeting in December.
It's just the first reading, so we're not taking an active.
No, it's just if we had any comments or edits, suggestions.
What happened to our thinking of moving the meeting day to Wednesday?
What happened? I don't know, but I'd love it.
I know you don't.
I never heard such a thing.
We decided not to do it.
We briefly discussed
No
it.
support for it. We talked about it and there was little, if any, support. And the reality is based upon my schedule, I've got stuff Tuesday through Thursday. So if we moved in this meeting to any time during the week, we would be bumping somebody's PTSA, somebody's foundation, we would be conducting meetings while kids were performing, playing, doing whatever. I'm not a fan of Monday nights and I would love to change it, but I think if we did, there would be some challenges going forward.
Okay.
And that's coming from someone that hates Mondays. Monday meetings. I like Mondays, but Monday meetings.
Yeah, I think basically interfering with students and parents' meetings kind of puts the kibosh on it.
And I think we're also starting to kind of get into the rhythm of Monday meetings in regards to information, questions, answering those and so on. So at this time, I would not suggest change.
We didn't end up overlapping with any holiday or anything this year. I mean, some people considered, we had a couple of times that we were the same date as something else.
There are some national holidays that aren't necessarily state ed code days that we have to take off. And I think going forward as a rule, if we have school, we should have a meeting. If it's good enough for students, it's good enough for us.
The only suggestion, and I don't remember what we ended up doing, but I think in January, didn't we end up moving a meeting? Maybe it's already moved on here when school wasn't in session yet, because then like folks weren't back from winter break. Did we solve for that? We might have. That's only edit.
Yeah.
It looks like it's
You're back up.
solved. Yeah, because it says
But I think that, well, I don't know if that was the reason, but
Yeah, we'll
I
definitely
think.
be back by the 11th.
Okay.
Students return on the 5th
Okay.
next year. And then the only other change that's a recent change to board meetings and is that in December in 2026 will be the installation of at least one new board member. And it used to be you could have the December meeting the second week. So that would be the 7th, but now it has to be delayed until the 14th.
I think it's always been though, mid. Right?
You may have always had it the third week
Oh.
of December, but a lot of school boards
Did it earlier.
did it the second week.
Okay. Are we good? You ready to move on? Yeah, okay.
Did we double check?
Okay, so I don't,
The second Friday, it has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be this.
excuse me.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't think I'm hearing any other comments or suggestions for the first meeting, so I think.
No, Amy and I are she's just reminding me what my memory lapses.
Okay, so then
She's good.
moving on to 17.4, we have a first reading of CSBA board policy updates.
Yeah,
Anything in particular to highlight here?
the first ones are from our business office regarding fire drills, school safety and so on, property loss. They're just updates. The bottom two are changes in our regulations and our policies regarding controversial issues. It highlights the biggest difference is it highlights instructional time versus student-led activities. And the last two were actually written by our attorney. who has worked with us since last March with some of the challenges that we've had with the community.
Any immediate comments or questions, feedback?
Why do we need a separate one for the during school time and outside school time?
Because if it's teacher driven, teacher led, there are greater restrictions in terms of First Amendment rights to that individual as opposed to after instructional time events led by students.
And we cannot make or require speakers or people outside of those hours to follow the same rules or not?
It's a little bit more open. We can limit disruptions for outside speakers that are brought in by students, but there's a little bit higher standard in terms of the protection of freedom of speech for students, not during instructional time.
And we can or cannot make them require them to sign the like our rules.
They will still sign our on-campus expectations for outside speakers. They will, and I don't have it here, but they will not create a disruption, disturbance, things of that nature, advocate for a disruption or disturbance. We can put those challenges. It's very clear that an administrator will stop whatever is happening if an outside speaker does go that direction.
So in a way, the way I read it is that there's more, not more supervision, but more I don't know, awareness and during supervision to be on the ready to intervene.
That's a good way of putting it. More of an awareness as far as those concerns that we have with outside speakers during student.
Okay. And also some training or knowledge of the supervisor that they need to act.
That is correct.
But I did read that the standards are higher if it's not instructional time. It's like libel, inciting, various other things, whereas our non-controversial policy is you can't have controversial, you have to present both sides in a classroom, which is not the standard for a speaker. A speaker can speak on one side of an issue, and as long as they're not inciting people to violence or outraging the audience so that they're incited to violence. It seems to be a very high standard, but if that's the legal standard, then that's the legal standard, and we have to abide by what the lawyer tells us is the legal standard.
I think those are valid updates.
So to me, this actually reads like a relaxation of standards for the after instructional time. Because we specifically apply the standards to the during instructional time. We are not doing anything to say what would happen after the instructional time. And this change of policy is a result of the iftar incident.
This change of policy was asked. We were asked to update our policy. We asked our attorney. By CDE, we were asked. We asked our attorney to help us with this update, and our attorney created this policy. The basis of the policy is a CSBA recommended policy. So only the red lines are what was added by our attorney.
So Vadim, we didn't actually have a speaker policy before. So now we actually have one.
We had site policies now.
Yeah,
part of a
this is now specifically a speaker policy from outside, it mentions outside student groups.
But this is speaker policy during the instructional time. The policy doesn't say anything about outside of instructional time.
There are two parts to the policy. If you look at if we can have the controversial.
The second document, yeah, I saw this.
Yeah, so
It-
if you look.
But it's not actually.
If you scroll further down, that red part is all about outside speakers.
I mean, the blue one, right? This is, both of them are outside speakers, right? It's just one for instructional time, one is outside the instructional time. During instructional time, we have higher standards because freedom of speech is not ultimate, is not absolute during the instructional time. That's pretty clear. My issue is that we've had an experience where an outside speaker invited by the students said anti-Semitic jokes that made other students uncomfortable, that forced the principal to apologize. This policy is not going to change any of that. Is that correct? Like this is not something that will prevent something like this from happening in the future.
Technically, no policy can prevent somebody from
Right.
doing what we ask them not to do. Along with this policy, there is an update in our outside speakers form that is with the administrative section where the administrator will have to check off whether or not it meets board policies, whether there is an inclination that it might be disruptive and so on. And then that way administration can make a decision as to whether or not they should go forward with this outside speaker.
I'd be interested in seeing that form. If we could have a copy just for our information.
So the challenge was this, we've
We can
seen
include
this.
the form on the next
Reading.
in the next meeting.
So the challenge with this policy, we've actually seen it play out at universities, right? A group of people who threaten violence or disruption get the benefit of having the event canceled just because of the issue of the threat. As a result, this policy actually encourages people who don't want to see somebody speak and exercise the freedom of speech right to threaten violence in order to have that speaker canceled. Right? And the policy reinforces that. So it benefits those who don't have respect for civil discussion and the freedom of speech, not the other way around.
That's why being a high school principal is really hard.
No, I know, but I just want to recognize that what we are adding as our policy will imply to the folks that we have no control over that if you see somebody being invited as a speaker to school, all you have to do is threaten violence, and that speaker might be pulled because administration will be legitimately concerned about the safety of the students or the speaker and not able to provide safety. And as a result, this is how you sabotage somebody you don't want to hear. So what can we do, right, as a policy? I don't have an answer, but I'm asking, you guys are the experts, right? What can we do to make sure that student groups carry responsibility for the people that they invite to speak on campus? There is some form of responsibility that they, we cannot just have people sign waivers and then say things that should not be said on public school campus, not on Twitter or YouTube. There you can say whatever you want. On public school campus, this is a community-funded place that has to guarantee safety and of every student, outside or during constructional hours or outside of instructional hours. So is there any different policies that have been implemented that have been more successful in this? Because I think this is not going to lead to any positive change.
I don't think a policy is what you're looking for. I think what you're looking for is administrative oversight and an awareness that, or a greater awareness of looking at outside speakers at events and so on, as we check, double check, and so on, right? I don't
What
think
would
that-
what would give you a better sense of having that oversight? Because I understand that if you were to look at some of the speakers and you find questionable material that those speakers have posted, will you have sufficient rights not to allow the speaker, or will you face the freedom of speech challenge by the students?
Can you phrase that again?
Sure. What I'm looking for is there any policy that you can bring to the board that will strengthen your position as administrator to have that oversight? Not to weaken your position or keep it status quo, without impeding on the freedom of speech.
In talking, I asked that specific question to our attorney, and as strong as it gets.
Okay.
I understand your concern about violence. I personally, in seeing our students, I think our students actually understand civil discourse a lot better than many of the adults. I have seen them demonstrate side by side peacefully, and it was an adult who came and disrupted the proceedings, not a student. So while adults may come and try to violate this policy, I have faith in our students to be properly educated by our teachers who have come here today and passionately advocated for them to teach them civil discourse. And that's not just in social studies, but in actually every class. You're going to have a discussion with your classmate where you don't agree. And in fact, Ms. Wolford just spoke tonight about how two students were passionately having a discussion about health insurance, which is a discussion where many people feel very differently. So I think that is really the safeguards that we have. I don't think it's something you can make into a policy based on free speech and on legal constraints.
We have to be very careful anytime we're talking about limiting someone's speech. As much as we may not like what they have to say, especially after hours, especially with student groups. Freedom of speech was, or the free speech movement was invented in the Bay Area, right? That took place.
I would say
Yeah.
that if certain trustees, such as yourself, if they didn't have an idea of a way to phrase it, then Eric could check with the lawyer about enhancing the policy a little
I
bit.
did.
If you have any ideas. I mean, I read it and I thought, well, I
I'll
don't know what to say because I don't have any better ideas, and it was written by the lawyer, you know?
I did check. That's as strong as we could make it without overtly.
Yeah, I mean, we wrestle with this, with the free speech thing.
I mean, there is a difference. I don't have a suggestion right now because this is not my responsibility as a board member, right, to come up with the actual recommendation over what the lawyers have. But I see a clear distinction. It's one thing to have a freedom of speech, to go to speaker's corner and yell whatever you want, because people can walk around you and go somewhere else. It's a different thing to come to a public school campus. The kids deserve to be on a public school campus. They cannot turn around and go somewhere else. They shouldn't. So there is a higher level of obligation, in my opinion, that needs to be somehow maintained because we are a public school. And the example, Theda, that you offered of students discussing public health, perfect. I don't know what they were talking about. For as long as they were civil with each other, that's perfectly fine. But it's not quite the same as inviting a comedian who has a lot of anti-Semitic jokes online. All you have to do is just look at that comedian's material online to know what that person stands for. That was a conscious decision by the student union to invite that speaker. So I don't trust the decision process of our students. I'm sorry. That was purposeful and intentional. And asking that person to not say anything after what the material says they're very capable of doing is not taking personal responsibility for who is being invited. So it's a good lesson for the rest of the students. Also, the comedian was not stopped during the event. Right? We heard that it was too quick. People didn't know what to do, but people did express discomfort. All of that. Damage is done. So how do we? Again, it's a question. I don't have recommendation. Is there anything beyond this policy, because this policy is not going to address it, that we can do in order to make sure that we keep public school safe and respectful place?
So at least based on the comments, which I'm not going to repeat because I think they are very incendiary, I think with this policy, I would expect the administration to step in because the comments were beyond what I would expect to hear.
That is definitely.
Yes, so I think that speaker could have come. However, immediately they started making the comments they did. This policy makes it clear that administration should step in and stop that speaker from speaking and, escort them off the stage. So while I don't think we can prevent people from coming and having controversial views because that infringes on First Amendment rights, as soon as it's sort of like First Amendment rights, as soon as you yell fire or start, liabilitying people, I think there was slander, there was various other extreme things, which is what this, in my opinion, this comedian did. I think at that point, administration can step in and say, you're done. And then students will learn that, a comedian can promise to not use their material, but they will in fact use their material. I think that's a certain naivete of students that they will learn. And they, in this case, they learned it the hard way. So I expect this crop of students will know to be more careful. Will the next crop of students need to learn the same lesson? Probably. But I think, as Mr. Volta said, we can't impede our First Amendment rights of our students. They also have a right to write a paper saying things, an essay on things that I think are completely, antithetical to the values of the values we have here. And on our graduate profile, they have the right to write an essay and turn it in and have the teacher grade it. That's their right as a student. And so I think while the teacher has to present both sides to an issue, a student does not. So I don't see a way, like we've had this discussion in multiple ways, and I haven't heard anything from Eric to say that we can restrict students' free speech. In fact, what I've heard is the opposite, is we have to allow students to have their free speech and then deal with the consequences as they come up, is basically what I've heard from you.
Yes,
So this is a first reading.
correct.
I'm wondering if this is off of CSBA template, some of it, right? The
Everything- Everything that's added
Mhm.
is the attorney's additions to the CSBA template. We
Okay.
had the CSBA. This policy has not been updated by CSBA since 2008, 2003, since
It might-
before 2010. We were up to date, we were current. And so that is,
Yeah. You might have already done this, but I wonder if other districts have anything around this
they might, whether or not they have it,
more or
whether
less
or not
than
they
this,
had
but
it reviewed by an attorney, I'm not sure. What I suggest that we'll have the form
For the next reading?
for the next reading.
I'll add that I do think it's worth taking a look at other districts. I've seen them approach it differently. And also I think this is CSBA model actually has one unified policy both for instructional time and for non-instructional time. It's just one umbrella. And then later on it specifies how to approach free speech issues like in different situations. But yeah, I think it's worth taking a look at other district policies, at least to understand why it does not work for us, if that's what we believe. The other piece that I wanted to ask is there a difference between free speech of students versus free speech of outside speakers? Because these people are external adults, they're not students. One of the examples we're discussing.
To your first point, I suggest that we move forward with this that we know is legal and is part of the CDE findings to those complaints previously. We can have some time to look at other policies. If what you're looking for is something with more teeth, I don't think we're going to find anything with more teeth and still be on safe ground if we were to enforce something with more teeth. Other school districts may have written something as a result of events that have happened at their sites. And I could double check with their superintendents. I think I know what district you're talking about to see how that was coordinated with their legal team.
Well, I looked at like 5 different ones, not just Santa Clara, which is what you're referring to.
I wasn't going to say anybody out loud.
I never said anything. We are going to strike it from the record. So, yeah. Yeah. And how do we think differently about students' free speech versus outside speakers' free speech? Because they're not students in our district.
My understanding is Supreme Court cases are pretty clear. Our students have freedom of speech rights while at school, so long as they don't disrupt the educational process.
Mm-hmm.
Outsiders, not during instructional time, have that same First Amendment right. We don't, the situation that we had last year was very, very unfortunate. We're very fortunate that we have students and clubs that didn't condone the speech of that other person. In terms of whether or not this person should have been allowed to speak, we probably could have asked, if we would have seen these websites, we could have asked the students to rethink it. However, if the students demanded, no, this is the person that we want for our event, they have a right. Luckily, we don't have students like that, and I don't think that would have happened. But freedom of speech is not something that we can negotiate. It's pretty clear, and that's, in a previous time, in a previous place, we were concerned about some articles going into a yearbook.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a question of whether or not the article was a violation of the Establishment Clause of the Constitution, or whether or not we should violate the First Amendment freedom of speech portion of the Bill of Rights. And the attorney says you don't mess with freedom of speech. If you had to ask me which constitutional piece you might lean against, it would be the Establishment Clause and not on the. So, I mean,
mm-hmm.
Yes, last year was an unfortunate incident. We don't condone it. We don't like it. And every adult on campus and every student said so. And I think that is the power of that event. And I know we've had numerous conversations in our cabinet meetings about overseeing these things. I know that the schools have worked together to have a similar policy. They have both agreed that they're going to follow this new approval form. And this is a case where it's more about working with students and being diligent to make sure that our campuses remain safe, more so than, you know, a policy. We have a cell phone policy, but you know, it's about the diligence of enforcing it, right?
Okay, so what I'm hearing for the next time is the form,
We'll add the form.
and you'll still look into some of the other policies and see if they're legal. Great. Okay. We're on to 17.5.
And these are new courses that are predominantly, well, they are all electives, with the exception of a dual enrollment English class at Alta Vista, which I think is awesome, to give our students a chance to earn college English credit while completing their high school graduation requirements. Recommendation is to approve these new courses.
It's listed as info. What we're gonna do.
Is it? Oh, it's first readings?
Yeah.
It just says info. Maybe it was
The recommendations will approve. Oh, okay. 'Cause
It says
on
info.
the agenda. And so take it.
Yeah.
No, we can't. It does say info on the agenda. So this is a first reading. We'll bring this back. We'll bring this back and consolidate it next meeting.
Then each one.
Under that, it says
action,
info.
Action, info. Down the one for the thing.
Business action item is the section in the agenda, whether or not something is voted for is on the right that says action, and it doesn't say action, so we cannot take action on it.
I have one quick question though. You said they're all electives. There's a couple of them that list something like dual enrollment.
Right.
But then it doesn't check the G on A to G. Does that mean that we have electives that aren't A to G? I mean,
Could you give me an example?
well, I'm looking at the tech internship one. And it says department CPCDE, and then it says all year, it's 9, 10, 11, 12. And it says it's a dual enrollment and it's resubmission to that, but it doesn't list anything under A to G.
Correct.
But then that means we do have electives that aren't electives in the A to G sense. Is that what you're saying? I don't know how that works. Like ASB, MVLA, that was correct. And they count towards graduation as a credit, but they're not, and they are an elective as in you can pick it. They are optional to take, but they're not an A to G. Correct. Yeah. That's, you know, a lot of other discussions we've had, even on ethnic studies, people are very confused on, you know, what elective means compared to required or not. Okay, got it.
Quick question. What does crossed out section means for microeconomics? It means we are removing crossed out section. So
what it satisfies. The crossed out is what it satisfies.
But some of them are crossed out.
Method crossed out that.
no, it's like, I don't know if you can see it like this.
Yeah,
basically-
it's crossed out and it should have been checked. The cross out is the same as the check.
Yeah, the way that it was submitted, some boxes on Google Docs, you check the box and it actually checks it. And some you go to check the box and it it's strikes out. the whole thing.
Okay.
So the strike
Just
throughs
like a typo.
are- Yeah.
Just ignore the strike. The
So
strikeout part.
how? Okay, so how do we, for example, microeconomics, 12th grade, 5 credits, satisfy social studies, right? What does it mean for the impact of this course? If we approve the course, is it going to be an additional course? Is it going to replace some course? Like, how does it work?
It adds an option for seniors. So economics is a requirement for all seniors
Yes.
at Montview High School. Currently, they have two options that all 550 students get to choose between: macroeconomics AP
Yeah.
or regular economics.
Okay.
This is now going to add a third option for all 550 students to choose between. So now they're going to have three options. It doesn't add more or less FTE. It just is going to take students out of the advanced course and put them into the dual enrollment, or from the regular econ into the dual enrollment. So it just gives them another option to choose between within that senior setting.
So
So
if-
currently there will be 20 sections across,
Right.
I'm just pulling this number up.
Sure.
20 sections of econ for all 12th graders at Mountain View. How those 20 sections are divided up: civics, dual dual enrollment econ or AP econ is going to be by student choice. But it doesn't impact the number of sections offered for total economic requirement.
So does it mean that certain number of students need to sign up for the course in order to be offered? So let's say 5 students sign up, right?
Then we would not allow,
We would not allow
open
it. Because
Correct.
otherwise you have to expand the number of teachers. You
Correct.
cannot afford to. So it's only if enough students sign up to reduce the teacher time in one of the other courses, right? So that the same teacher can become available to teach this course.
That's correct. And that's part of the whole master scheduling balancing is, wanting to have enough to open up this section without overloading these other sections or under enrolling those other sections. Correct.
And what,
Sure.
Put on their registration sheets, then based upon the course registrations, allocate teachers to it based upon the total number of teachers that we have. We know we have 530 seniors. All going to take government and econ next year, so we allocate the government and econ teachers for those 530 students for to teach both those classes in a semester.
And sometimes you'll have a teacher that teaches an econ class year after year after year after year, but it is also not uncommon for a teacher who taught US history the year before to teach econ that next year. And so teachers are not necessarily permanent in the courses that they teach. Some of them stay for, quite a while in those courses, but others move around.
and what's the minimum number of students for the course to open up? Like
There is no hard number, board required hard number.
What
We
usually happens?
try to keep it around 20-ish is a good
Okay.
starting line. But
Okay.
again, that number needs to also be flexible when we're looking at a variety of other options.
So last year, your sequence, it might be a little bit lower than that. If it is an elective, and by offering it, increasing the class sizes in other classes, then we're not offering. So if it's like a Spanish 4, Spanish might be, or French or Mandarin, the number might be lower. If it's this, you're looking at like 30 to 20 or maybe a little bit more. We try to staff so that our class averages no more than 20 to 1.
Thank you. May I just ask one question about the master schedule, as long as we're talking about it, sort of? This is all parameterized, right? And the schedule comes out reasonably close after running the software or not?
So make sure I'm understanding.
They submit their requests. You have your things that you have, and then you play this match back and forth and back and forth. And then after it iterates through a few times, how close does the software produce a schedule that is workable? Or is it way more hands-on?
It's more hands-on than that, because it's not just about producing a schedule that has all the students allocated in those, but now we're trying to fit that with the number of teachers that we have, with the sections, with the room numbers. And then to make things even more interesting, we have co-taught sections, which have different caps and parameters around them. And so there's a lot of a lot of hand, very close with the human being eye versus the computer that is doing those end adjustments, and those end adjustments can take weeks and weeks to finish and finalize. So it's not just the first or second spit out of the master schedule by our student information system. It's then taking that and working it with all of the other parameters that we have to work with. And so
Yes.
well, I understand that this is a first reading at this point. My question would be if you could communicate to us if there's any major concerns around this, and that can give us an indication of a more confident indication of moving into the next board meeting to get approval.
I have a brief comment and then a question. So first of all, thank you very much for increasing the number of dual enrollment and CTE courses, which is something the board had asked for. I really appreciate that. I also really appreciate the AVID internship and the new dual enrollment for Alta Vista High. I had a question about fashion design. The form was a bit confusing to me.
Okay.
I couldn't, so I think it's a year class, but I wasn't sure if it was a semester or a year because the crossouts were confusing to me. So could you explain? And then also, is it visual or performing arts or an elective?
So
I
it'll
just
be
was confused. by
Thank you.
the-
No, I appreciate the clarification. It's a year-long course. It is the second in a two-sequence CTE pathway. So students need to take and complete Fashion Design 1 in order to enroll in Fashion Design 2. And it is considered a VAPA approved course.
Okay, so if you could just have it, just fix the check boxes because it's in other ones you don't have the cross out. And also it doesn't have CTE checked off on it.
Thank you.
I know it
Well-
says it. If you read further somewhere further, but it's kind of hard to look at it in advance. So that would be helpful for people in the public who are just glancing down. And also if it had CTE in the title as
Fair
well,
enough.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Great feedback. Thank you.
I would be curious on who submitted it, like who, now if CTE, does that mean Amber did them?
This was submitted by the teacher who will be teaching this class next year.
In all the cases or no?
I'm
just-
sorry, I thought you were referring to the Fashion Design 2.
Well, I'm referring to really all the CTE ones and then visual and performing arts. I mean, how do I know who submitted that? I don't.
So in the end, it's submitted by Ed Services. It goes through a multi-step vetting and review process. By the time it gets to Ed Services, then it gets submitted to you. So regardless, some of these are created by the teacher. Some of them are created in collaboration with the teacher and the administration. Some of them may have had Amber that is supporting that either on the dual enrollment or the CTE side. So,
Okay. And yeah. And so you already have a willing and able person to teach each thing.
absolutely. Thank you, board.
Thank you, Tara. So we'll likely add this to the consolidated agenda
Yeah.
for next time. Now that we suggested some of those edits. Okay, we're on to board operations, 18.1, board suggestions for future board meetings.
Probably would like to discuss health more and or financial literacy at some point. Maybe it's too premature, but
Too early for financial. We could discuss health and the differences, and Julie can talk about the adult ed class.
okay, well. Maybe since we just agreed that we just gave you direction to just let it ride for now, we can do it sometime later, but it needs to be kind of like on the back burner somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for me, what would influence me is the Healthy Kids survey, because after all, that is what health is supposed to be addressing. So is there a difference between students who take it online? Are those datas anonymized? Or do we have any way of knowing? Okay. All right, so maybe we could, I don't know, we'd have to think it through. But right now, I don't think we have any data as to the outcomes of students who take it. So that would require some thought from Ed Services.
Add one more thing.
Yeah, you don't have enough to do.
I had a question if we wanted, I mentioned it earlier, but if we wanted to consider looking at the board policy again around what's it called? Meeting conduct, but essentially how we handle public comments. I got the communication about this, and really I think it comes down to three things if we wanted to look at. One, is there a time cutoff for when speakers submit a request to speak? Two, do we want to limit or just set some parameters around how long we dedicate time to public comment for items on the agenda or items not on the agenda? And then ensuring that speakers are submitting their own request to speak versus using a proxy. So those were all specific things that I got communication about. Community members and referencing. Referencing.
Received.
Oh, I think, yeah, I always include.
I also got them because, you know, I was acting president. So some people I think got a bit confused
I actually don't know
during
if
the
they
transition.
individually emailed anyone else.
And now what about this proxy situation?
What I understood is, you know, if like I'm filling out one of those green sheets for someone else that's speaking and submitting it versus the person that's going to speak submitting it themselves.
Well, if the person actually does know I'm speaking, they're gonna. Yeah.
Well, this is just, do we want to consider revisiting this? We last updated it in February of this year.
And we left pretty much everything the way it was in that regard. Yeah.
No, there was some changes.
A few, but not in terms of.
Before there was a limit, and I think we said we didn't want to limit.
No. Yeah, that's why we kept it because it was on.
Yeah, so my understanding from Eric is that legally we have to set a time limit in order to do anything. And also the fact is the Mountain View Voice reported there were 50 speakers. I don't know if that's accurate because that's not like I counted them. But that's probably correct. And so I think people read that and were like, you know, I have to sit through 50 speakers times 3 minutes.
I think what ultimately it comes down to is board efficiency.
Yeah.
Balancing that with also being respectful of what the community wants to share with the board. So I think there's probably a healthier balance than what we've experienced. But if we feel confident in the current policy, we can move on. I just thought I'd bring it up since I got communication about it.
Yeah, I think I originally was like, I would like free speech, but I think after that meeting and hearing from people that it actually impeded their free speech because they couldn't stay to actually like hear our deliberations because it went on so long. And if it had been, you know, we had a policy per speaker, like, you know, if there's 16 plus speakers, which a lot of school boards have, so they speak for 1 minute, that would have been 50 minutes of public comment. So that then our meeting would have ended a lot earlier. And also I think we were tired, and I think that's what the public was commenting on. So I think it's efficiency and also people who want to actually hear us deliberate live. And I think YouTube is great, but you can't actually see, I mean, it's kind of a far away view of us. So if you're live, you can see our expressions and things like that. I mean, clearly people wanted to hear the graduation requirements because people left after we were done. So at least my thinking has changed as that meeting occurred, and it was just very clear that for some topics, we're going to have a lot of speakers.
The only comment I have is this about that. is that you say, everybody that wants to speak on this topic, submit your paper now. And then we can count them and know how many there are and decide what time we are going to give them. If you have 10, and as those people are talking, other people think, well, let me say this about that, and let me say this about that, and then you think you're done, and then you get 3 more, and I mean, is there any kind of way to decide in advance or give a cutoff? Anybody, we're giving you like 2 more minutes to submit any papers, otherwise the last in the stack we're going, because I've seen that happen too, where people keep coming in.
I believe the reason why CSBA puts a limit on each topic is so that there is an expectation with everybody that we're only going to have this much time to discuss it. And if there are more people than we have time to discuss it, then that gives the board president along with the board, it's not a legal issue, but it gives the latitude of the board to say, okay, because of the number of speaker cards we've received, we're only going to allow 1 minute per person, or we're going to go for 20 or 30 minutes, whatever we choose. And then if it's not on a specific item, then we can put the rest of the public comments at the end of the meeting so we can conduct the board's business during the meeting. Also, in the CSBA policy, there's an opportunity for the president to ask everyone, how many of you agree with this statement? Or if you don't have anything new to add, and if your points have already been said, then please come up and state whether you're for or against the agenda, so that you can see the numbers, which is what people want, but we're not going through the. And I think that's the reason why they put that 30 minutes per topic in their policy, to give us latitude to arrange the speakers so that we can be productive in our meeting.
But I think I understood from you that that's a legal requirement to do anything in regards to speakers. We can't have no time limit and then say, if we get 16 speakers, we can speak for 1 minute. Is that correct?
I don't know how you would make that determination unless you counted up the number of items and you just said, well, we've got a lot of items, I want to limit it to 1 minute. But why are you limiting it if you don't have a set time frame for your comments? Is that, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so you're basically telling people you can't speak for the 3 minutes in our policy just because we got a lot of people that showed up. But if you have an actual time constraint, then we can make those kind of.
Do the thing where they count the number of speakers, sometimes there's too many speakers, they just allocate 1 minute, and they do not have a restriction on the total time per talk. So it is possible. Whether we want to do this or not is a separate issue, but it's definitely possible and common. Very common, in fact. So.
Restricting a specific section in terms of time may lead to overrepresentation of one opinion versus others, right? It will create a competition of who is going to show up to throw in more cards to speak. So that's not, that wouldn't be a good policy in my opinion. Restricting people based on how many people are speaking is challenging, because I've been on the other side. Imagine you're preparing something you want to deliver to the board. All of a sudden you realize that, oh, I can't speak for 3 minutes. I only have 2 minutes. Oh, no, never mind. I only have 1 minute. Like, you're on the fly changing what you're trying to deliver from 3 minutes to 1 minute, which is a very difficult task, right? You get a lot of incoherent speeches, which are difficult to understand when this happens. So I kind of, even though it's long, I appreciate that people come here thoughtfully and are given opportunity to deliver what they've prepared to say. Like, it's valuable, even though I'm just like everybody else here is on the recipient end of sitting in this chair for so many hours and oftentimes listening to a very similar point of view. Yet there is an impact that I want us to recognize.
So I'm hearing from Optima, do you want to not revisit it, Catherine? Dana?
I honestly am fine with the way it is. I mean, I know it does make our meetings go long sometimes, but in the time I've been on the board, 7 years now, almost, this didn't happen all that often until the last couple of years. So maybe we need to change because of that, or maybe this is a blip in time where there's been a lot of public input on these particular issues that have come up. And then we will not get the same kind of input as we move on.
I thought, this board likes looking at other board policies, other
Yeah.
districts, and that's what other districts will reference, Palo Alto, Santa Clara,
Yeah.
not specifically.
Yeah. When we were doing sound and lights on the football fields, I mean, we had 110 speakers at one meeting. We had it in the auditorium at MVLA. I mean, MVHS. That number of years ago, and 110, and I think they only gave them 1 minute or something, but still, it's real. It lasted past midnight, just that part, and that I think that was the only agenda item. So, but things that with that many speakers don't come up that often. I hope.
Okay.
I'll drink to that lights is the biggest issue this board has had. I'll drink to that lights to be the biggest issue this board has. I wish, yeah.
Communication?
Yes, got a note from Senator Josh Becker congratulating us for our recent ranking and congratulating administrators, faculty, teachers, students, parents, and all who contributed to the preparing of the next generation for the future. That's the correspondence.
Legislative update?
No, 66 pages of new laws for this year that we forwarded to the different departments.
Okay. Next meeting, Monday, December 15th. Here at 7. All right, and then we don't have to resume closed session. So do I have a motion? Adjourn?
I second.
Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Alex. All in favor? Aye. Aye. 5-0. Have a good night, everyone.